Hey guys, it's me, Pokemon. I'm back, and today I want to talk to you guys about what level I think you should get characters to. Sort of if you're just ranking characters up and you know you're going to be using a character, but they're not like a mainstay character that you're going to be using a lot. It's just a character you want to level up a little bit just so they're usable. And, what level do characters become usable? So I know there's a lot of different opinions on this. Some people think, gear tier 10 or gear tier 11, you need to have their skills at level 6 and stuff like that. But I want to talk to you about where I choose to get my characters to. So if you scroll down my roster right here, actually we'll just not sort them at all, and I'll show you where I have all my roster. If you look through my roster, I have a lot of characters at gear tier 9 level 60, and that's where I get a lot of my characters. On top of that, I also try to get them to 5 5 5 3 on their skills in terms of levels. You could take characters to skill level 6, but the problem with that is to get it a level 6 skill, it takes 120 purple mats, and the problem with that is like almost twice as much as getting a skill from 4 to 5. So I think you're better off investing those two. You're better off leveling 2 skills to level 5 than 1 skill to level 6 in terms of overall roster power. So this is pretty much where I like to get my characters. Gear tier 9 level 60 5 5 5 3. This is when I consider characters usable. This is when I'm comfortable taking them into a lot of modes. These characters I'll take into, they're pretty competent at all tiers of Ultimus level 6 raids. My alliance has started trying Ultimus level 7 raids, and they do struggle a little bit there. It might take you 2 teams to clear a node, and I definitely do use some of my bigger teams here that I happen to have higher leveled up, and it's not too uncommon that in Ultimus level 7 raids I do tend to dig into this roster I have up here that is higher up in terms of gear tier, like 10 or 11. So if you're going into stuff like Ultimus raid 7, the characters you're using in there, it's probably not a bad idea to get them up to gear tier 10, or if you could, even a higher level. But if you're just leveling up characters, say for somebody like the Thing, I'm not going to be using him in a lot of different modes. I'm not relying on him for raids. I just want him at a usable level so I can use him in stuff like Alliance War or Blitz. I think this is a satisfiable level to get characters to have them be usable in a lot of different modes. You're gonna want to build characters up a little higher if you're going to be using them in some of those advanced modes, like the high levels of Ultimus raids and stuff like that. But this is where I build all of my characters to, and as you can see, characters I find are useful, like Graviton I took to a higher gear. I'll probably try to take him higher. Ghost Rider, he's up here, I took him to gear tier 11. Characters that I think are incredibly useful I have taken to higher gears. But I just use gear tier 9 as a baseline. As you can see, it's really easy to do. I have most of my characters at gear tier 9. Once I get down to here, I have like 20-ish characters that I don't have gear tier 9. But the reason why I haven't gear tiered those characters is because I consider them actually pretty useless. So what's nice about getting characters to gear tier 9, 5 5 5 3, and level 60 is, first off, that means all your characters are going to be pretty balanced in blitzes. When you use blitzes, they will match characters to you. So it's helpful because essentially if you have one character that is a really high power level, like 50,000 power, but everyone else is 20,000 power, like my Wakandan team here with Black Panther. So whenever I'm going against somebody, they're going to have somebody that's super powerful too. So this Wolverine's here to match my Black Panther. But this can sometimes backfire because you could end up getting like a strong DPS, like say Phoenix was the one that was 40,000 on this team. Black Panther could not take down Phoenix, and then Phoenix would dominate my whole team. So you really want to try to keep characters around the same power level because you'll start running into those kind of problems. I think it's nice to set as a baseline, and I think it's very achievable to get characters to gear tier 9 level 60. But I wanted to take a look at msf.gg so we can take a look at stats and see how they increase from gear tier 9 to gear tier 10, or increasing levels. What am I missing out on by stopping at gear tier 9 5 5 5 3 and level 60? So here I am in msf.gg. This is their stats section. Let's zoom in a little bit right here so you guys can get a better view of the stats for these characters. So here we have just Ant-Man, just a random character. Let's put him at 6-star, 3 red stars. That's pretty reasonable. Most people are gonna have him at that. Stark Tech, let's just not even bother with Stark Tech because it doesn't matter. Let's not even bother with the passives either. Well, actually, we would have the passive at level 3 because we would do the 5 5 5 3. So here I have him at gear tier 9. You can see see total, he's at 42,000 health. Damage is 4,200. Let's take it up to gear tier 10. So you're talking like a 300 increase in damage and like a 500 increase, or 5,000 increase in health. Now let's see if you start increasing the level of the characters. What's the difference on those kind of things now? So as you can see, about 1,000 increase in health and somewhere around 100 increase in damage. So these are important stat increases, and I think they're somewhat valuable. I think 1 or 2 levels doesn't make a big difference, but say you power a character up to level 70, I mean that is a pretty significant jump in health. And but the problem with this kind of stuff is getting characters up to higher levels gets exponentially more expensive. So getting characters up to level 60 is not easy per se, but that's a couple day investment. Getting characters up to level 75 is really hard, and that's why I get characters up to gear tier 9 level 65,553, is because even though I don't think those characters are capable of doing everything, the amount of resources it would take to take a character the last 100 meters, to get them the final levels, I could take those resources, I could level up like 3 more characters to level 60, and in my mind I view that as more valuable. Again, I do struggle in higher levels of Ultimates raids, but for blitzes and stuff like that I do very well in blitzes because I have all these teams of characters that are all somewhat well built up. But I think this gives you guys a good visual of the difference in stats. And let's go to different characters. Say you may be worried about Ant-Man's stats. Let's go to Bullseye stats and let's take a look at how he changes through the level. So let's again set the passive at 3, and let's just take out Stark Tech. Stark Tech doesn't make that, I mean it makes a pretty significant difference if you have it at 25% as opposed to 0%. But everyone has Stark Tech at like a mediocre level. It's not like, I don't know, Stark Tech's not that crazy. Everyone sort of builds that up passively. So let's set him to level 60 and let's set him to, gear tier 9. As you can see, gear tier 13 and 14, if you can do that kind of stuff, pretty crazy for these characters. But let's set him to gear tier 9. So as you can see, 47,000 health and 6,500 damage, and as you can see, get about a 500 increase in damage and about a 5,000 increase in health. So it's relatively equivalent for all these characters. The difference you get as you increase, and as you can see, levels goes up by about 100 and about 1,000. So it's about the same for every character whenever you're leveling up their gear or they're just straight level. So I just think this is really interesting to look at right here. I think everyone has a different assessment of when a character is usable, but I just want to share mine with you guys today because I definitely think I'm a more mid-range player. I'm pretty much free to play, more or less. I don't usually buy deals because, again, I think they're a little overpriced in this game. So I think it's interesting to get my perspective on what I think is a good level for characters. I think a lot of the times when you hear, what level should I get characters to? I think people tell you that, but they're in the end game. Obviously, and you're in the place where you're trying to clear Dark Dimension 3, or you're fighting like difficulty level 3 for Ultimates Raid 7. You're going to need a significantly different level for these characters. Gear tier 9 characters are not going to be able to do that kind of stuff. But I think I represent a pretty significant portion of the player base that were sort of stuck in this limbo of higher levels of Ultimates level 6, or like the bare minimum, like 30% completion on Ultimates Raid 7. Not really able to get into Dark Dimension 2. I feel like there's a pretty significant portion of players that are sort of stuck in this in-between area, and I wanted to let you guys know where I get my characters to, and what I consider an acceptable level for them. And I also think it's kind of satisfying to see the purple behind him as opposed to this blue. Blue, it's like, that's a weak character when I see blue on the roster, but when I see purple, it's like that character is strong now. So anyways, guys, let me know down below, what level do you get characters to when you're sort of just leveling up a random character and you're like, I want to get them to the usable tier? What level do you get their skills to? What level do you get your gear tier? What level do you get the character themselves to? All really interesting questions, and I bet it varies heavily depending on what stage of the game you're in. And with that being said, what do I really know? Because I am only an 18-year-old. I hope everyone can have a happy and healthy day, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Signing off, everyone.